Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday, the 2nd of October. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's the one thing that I think that we don't talk about enough is what does it take to be in the service industry? Whether you're fixing lawnmowers, trucks, cars, tractors, why do people go into that profession? So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday, October 2nd of 2025. So one of the biggest things that I notice that doesn't get discussed enough is why are people going into the service industry? And that means whether you're working on repairs, cars, trucks, tractors, lawnmowers, boats, what have you. What draws people in? Now, we all know that are in this profession, it's not to become independently wealthy, because if that were the case, I probably wouldn't have to make these videos because I make 2 cents a video. No, it's not wealth driven, because it's hard to put into words exactly who is the ideal, shop guy, shop person. And I think the biggest thing is compassion, because you like working with your hands, right? And you like to see things from start to finish. And you like to take something that doesn't work and make it work again. And it's kind of like repurposing, right? You're taking something that somebody else killed, and you're the surgeon, and you go in and surgically do whatever you want to do to it, and voila, you've got it running again. But when I say compassionate, I also mean the business side of customers. That you're there to help them. Like, that's the biggest thing, is you are providing a service that is going to help them fix X, Y, or Z, right? And you're going to get paid for that. But if you're like most of us, you know, we're not making tons of money doing repairs. And the bigger we get, the more employees we get, the more the costs are. And sometimes bigger isn't better, especially when you get into the automotive and small engine repair business. Having a floor plan and doing all the other stuff is great if you've got the location and you've got good people. We talked about the other day, the best people to have are the ones that you don't need to do anything with. They, the worst thing you can do is micromanage a good employee, because they will leave. If you have a good employee and they're doing their job and above, leave them the hell alone. And same goes for shop owners. If you've got employees that look at their shop owners and they're doing a great job getting work in and getting billing done and paying the bills, leave him alone. Don't bother him. He's doing his thing. So what was it that drew me into this arena? And you guys can date back to when I come out with a bachelor's in IT, and I was doing e-commerce websites for other bigger companies. I was doing stuff on the server side. And like a light bulb went on and said, you know what? If I can do it for them, I can do it for me. But at the time, I wasn't quite sure of what was it that I really wanted to get into. And it was a means to an end, okay? And the biggest problem we had when we first started out was getting parts. Yes, getting parts. Because the ones that we were made to deal with was the other local shops in the area. And maybe this is you too, and I do it as well, is if I need a float for a Honda engine, you can go online and order one, right? But at the time, you couldn't. So I would give the local other repair shop that was bigger than ours that did our area, and they would say, "Oh, sorry, we don't have that in stock, but we'll get it ordered and we'll give you a call when it comes in." And what they were doing is they were adding it to a sheet of paper. And they knew that they had to get to a certain number to either get free shipping or reduced shipping on the order. And most of them were ordering just once a week on a Friday. And then they would have it Monday or Tuesday, if you were lucky. Some of the businesses that I dealt with early on, 2 and 3 weeks out waiting for a part. And that was just asinine. So I was looking for a way to make it more feasible to get the parts faster, bypass the middleman, and take the product from the supplier to the consumer. Easy peasy, right? Well, not so easy peasy. There were probably 2 to 3 years where I didn't receive a dime. Actually, I put money into the business but never received anything back. And I was told during that period that I was crazy. What the hell are you doing? And I said, because I see a vision. I see people ordering stuff online and they need it quicker. And they want to fix their own stuff. And they can't fix their own stuff because they're waiting weeks for the part to come in. And I can tell you that once we started up and started cranking out, I would say half our business was other small engine repair shops. Because they knew that they could order from me today, I would ship it today, and they would have it the next day or two. Sometimes the next day, if the order came in early enough today. I was going down to the shop at 4 o'clock in the morning and picking up the orders and starting to print, package, and get it ready for USPS. And by the time daylight showed and 9 o'clock come around for the post office to open up, I had totes full of parts that I was putting in the back of my truck and running them down to the local USPS office and dropping them off. And it was kind of funny because I had to stand there while they scanned each package. I'm like, why? But they wanted to make sure everything scanned good and there wasn't an issue with maybe the barcode got covered or something like that. But yeah, and I can remember at our height when we were doing it, I was taking 11 totes, and they're probably 2 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot by about 1.5 feet, 2 foot tall, and packing those totes very full. There would be hundreds of orders coming in when I closed the door at 3 o'clock. Between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and that following morning, that's how many orders would come through. And that's when I started hiring people on. It's like, I can't keep doing this. I got to get more help. And we brought Krista on. And Krista was the backbone of our business. She was customer service. She helped print and pack. She helped with doing stuff on the eBay store as far as uploading stuff. I mean, she was invaluable. Maybe that's not the right word. We missed her big time when she had to leave, and she's my niece. But the deal is I never wanted to be in a position where people felt like they couldn't try to better themselves. And when she came to me with the idea that she was thinking about going back to college for pharmaceuticals, and what did I think? And I told her, I said, if that's what you want to do it. She goes, well, what about you guys? I said, do it. Do what's best for you. If going back to school and getting a degree in pharmacology or whatever is that important, then please do it. And you're going to have my blessing with it. And actually, I helped her out with the books for the first year. And a little bit of a bonus check on the way out. But everybody else said it couldn't be done. And then the naysayers started having like this, well, how come you're getting so many sales? And it got spread around our community that we were knocking it out of the park, that we had so many orders. It doesn't take long in a small town for people to gossip. And if I had 100 orders going out today, by the time we got to the last person in town, it was 1,000. And if I made $1,000 today, by the time I got to the last person, I was a millionaire. That's how it works in a small town. But what was it that kept me in the business? And that is, one, compassion. Two, I enjoy what I'm doing. I do. I enjoy the customers. I enjoy the chance to work on different problems that the customers bring to us. I like to find solutions. My brain doesn't work as good as it did last year at this time, but I'm still hanging on. I'm still fighting the fight. And that's what represents most of you that are in this industry. You're fighting the fight every day. There's days that you just shake your head and you're like, we need to close the doors. And then you get a good night's sleep and you go do it again, right? And then you're going to have the good times where there's so much work sitting in your dooryard, you're just praying for it to stop coming. And then there's crickets where you start praying again that you get work. Been there, done that, still doing it. It's kind of like that feast or famine when it comes to small engine, because you get that big rush in the spring of people wanting to get their lawnmowers fixed or serviced so they can start mowing their grass. And in the fall, we used to get a lot of snowblowers, but we haven't saw hardly any snow. So, people aren't having their lawn or their snowblowers serviced on a regular thing every fall, because they may only use it for an hour, and it's like, why? It's only had an hour's use, so why should we reservice it again? And I totally get that. I get that. But in order for us to survive, I had to find something else that could go along with it, because we slowed down on the parts, and it was twofold. All right, one is the Chinese sellers were just decimating the selling venue. That was probably the biggest thing. And I saw the writing on the wall early, and I started dumping and getting up from underneath and not ordering more stock. And I would say I've still got probably $50,000-$60,000 in stock, but I'm comfortable with that. And the nice thing is that, and I think I mentioned it before, but for you guys that are new, everything that I had for inventory, equipment, and everything else was bought and paid for. Yes. When I first started this, we didn't get loans to do it. We built it from the ground up and let it just keep getting bigger and better. And once the orders started coming in, if somebody would order one, I would order two, because I had enough price cushion in there that I could get the second one and have it on the shelf. And then you compound that with 100 different orders for 100 different parts, and ordering 100 more extra ones to come in to be in pull draws, shelving, or what have you, so that if somebody else ordered it later that day, we could pull it right out and ship it and then restock it. Once we stocked it, we were restocking. Okay? The philosophy of my business was trying to get it to the customer as fast as I could. Because, like I say, over half of them were repair shops, just like you guys. And there's nothing, it's harder than sitting there waiting for a part to show up. Weeks for a part to show up at your local shops. And that's what I was trying to, one of my top priorities was, because we were waiting weeks to get parts. When we were starting out, I said, no, we're going to make it so that the average shop owner can get the part within a couple of days. That's my goal. That was my end goal, was supplying the parts that you guys needed if you bought from me in the shortest amount of time possible, so that you could in turn get that machine fixed and get paid. I understood all the back end because we were dealing with the same thing. When you got a lawnmower sitting in your shop for 2.5 weeks and you find out that the part hasn't even been ordered yet through your other dealer, and your customers is screaming at you and you're trying to figure out what to do, and he's threatening to take it to a different shop, and I'm like, well, if you take it to somewhere else, they're going to have to order that part. So it was helping us as well on the repair side because I was now becoming a warehousing of inventory. And the other shops in the area, even the bigger ones that we were buying from, started calling us for the parts because they were tired of waiting that long. And they could either send somebody over quick and we would fill their order, or we could send somebody to them. There was a surcharge on it if we did deliveries even across town. But it was ease, convenience, speed, and for shop owners to get the money as soon as possible. So why am I going into all of this? Because it defines what a shop owner is. It defines the headaches that shop owners have. The biggest problem most shop owners, even Yugo mechanics, have is not the customer. It's waiting for the part so you can get the unit fixed and out in the shortest amount of time. Now, if you're lucky, like in our area, especially for automotive, there's a Napa and then there's what they call a GNR Auto. And both of them are pretty good size stocking, inventoried. And if they don't have it, they can have it here for you tomorrow morning. That's awesome. But we don't have that for small engine. We can't just call somebody and have it there today or in the morning. It just doesn't happen that way. The quickest I could get stuff was if I put in an order this morning, I would have it by tomorrow night UPS. That was about the quickest I could get it. So the way to get it so I could get it shipped faster was to start stocking. Most of you guys can't do that. And I'm slowly getting away from it because the market is no longer there, even with the tariffs. It's hard to compete against a country. I was competing with a lot of big dogs, but when it come to a country with hundreds of thousands of sellers selling the same thing, and if they got a couple bad raps on their user profile, they would just start another one. I couldn't do that. eBay knew if I wasn't doing above par work and I fell below the standards, they're not going to let me come back in as a new seller with a new ID. They're not. Absolutely not. But China got away with it. And still does to this day. But what does it take? It takes someone that has compassion. It takes someone that has mechanical skills. Likes working with their hands. Likes the idea that they're their own boss. Because for many of you, you're a one-man band, which there's nothing wrong with that. That way you don't have to fight. I mean, you can always put like puppet things on your hand and talk to your hand all day long. And then have it talk back, you know. But you're also a person that shows compassion towards your customers. If you treat your customers fairly and honestly, you will retain every customer. The ones you won't retain are the ones that will give you no respect and are never happy with anybody's work. And those are the best ones and the first ones to cut out anyways. But we have compassion for our regular customers. When they come in, they're frustrated because their lawnmower doesn't work. And with our skills, we're able to put a smile back on their face, right? And they're happy, and that makes us happy. It's not dollars and cents. I have yet to meet a shop owner that was a multi-millionaire from doing repairs, honestly. And I myself was the closest one that I've ever known that was making that seven, in gross sales, not net, gross. But I had a whole different niche. I wasn't just serving my community, I was serving even outside the U.S. I mean, I was even hooked up so that I was supporting the Navy, the Army, the military sectors. They had accounts with me and shipping Honda parts to the Coast Guard so that they could get their smaller boats ready to go or fixed with their mechanics. You can get as big as you want, and nobody's going to stop you. But it's how much of a headache do you want? And what I found is the older I get, the less I want of headaches. I'm starting to slow down. Most of us are, right? Because I can't run with the dogs anymore, but you guys, most of you can. And you know what I'm saying? And I hope that this video, you guys that are watching that have shops, or whether it's automotive or small engine, anything in the service sector, how would you define yourself? What are the qualities that you possess that make you who you are? And I already know what you're going to say if you're still in business, because those qualities are what retain customers and having them come back day in and day out. I would have to say the biggest thing you have to do to a customer is gain their trust. And this is not a facade type trust. It's a mutual trust and respect between the two of you. They have to trust you to take their unit and do what you feel is right, because they don't know. And a lot of new customers that I get are so worried about getting screwed. It's just because you hear all the horror stories, right? So when you get done, people are like, oh, geez, thank you so much, because they were thinking of a number of 3 to 4 times what our bill was. My biggest thing is I try to treat everybody the way I would hope to be treated. Not the way I was treated, the way I hope to be treated. And that's helped me immensely over the years. Do I take a few hits once in a while? Yeah. Yep. I've got a heart too. And if I see someone that's on harder times that I know can't afford it, but they need their lawnmower, or they need what they have, then I'm like, bring it in. We talked about this here, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I talked about it early on when I first started this channel, is you need to offer your services for free to certain ones in your community. You do. It's gonna make them feel good, and it's gonna make you feel good. That there's nothing there other than compassion that you're showing someone else for fixing their lawnmower or their trimmer, or what have you, that they're having problems with. I always concentrated on the elderly that I knew were on a fixed income and not getting very much a month. We had one that he mowed his yard, the guy's across the road, and his lawnmower was in pretty rough shape when we saw it. So we went ahead, we put the time and money into it and got it back up to really nice. And when it came time to pay the bill, I said, there is no bill. This one's on me. He teared up and stuff like that. He said, I'm going to pay you back. And don't worry about it. That's what defines a shop owner in our service sector. Because I know that you guys have done the same thing out of compassion. It's not about dollar and cents, folks. Never was and never will be. If you're in it for just strictly money, I'm going to tell you right now, go find something else. Because you're not going to get rich, independently rich. There's going to be days when you're pulling your hair and trying to figure out how to balance the books. Bigger is not better. Jason, you're working out of your garage or shed, whatever that part is, and you've got a good system in place. Everything's paid for. Your light bill's on the house anyways. start out doing it on the side to see if it's something that you enjoy doing, and then allow the business to grow as you get more customers. And you can start out in part of your garage or outbuilding with power to it, with lights so you can see and do stuff. You don't need a full piece of real estate with paved parking lot and right full of machines to become one of us in the small engine repair business. Most of those people that I see that jump in head first don't realize that it's pretty shallow, and they end up losing their tails. It's a tough business to be in, but it's a very worthwhile business to be in. So in the comments, put what you think. What is it that you think you have that keeps you in this business? And I don't care whether you're working on cars, tractors, tractor trailers, you name it. You're doing something mechanical and you're helping out people. And in turn, hopefully, you're making enough money to be profitable. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for the last day of the weekday. Thanks so much for watching and your continued support. Enjoy your day.